Hello everyone, welcome to this month's edition of North Central Outdoors. I'm your host, Nathan Karch. Today's topic is going to be all about boating. So it's warm outside, everybody's wanting to hit the lake. You've got your boat ready from a long winter and we're ready to get out on the water. So there's a few things that you need to be mindful of before you hit the water. First and foremost, we want everybody to know that you have to have a boating license in order to operate a boat. So very much just like a vehicle on the road, you have to have a license for that as well. So if you were born after January 1st of 1989, it is required by state law that you possess a boating license. And there's a few ways you can go about doing that. First is go online to our website, or you can actually go to Walmart or any outdoors or sportsman's store and get a Type 600 permit. That's going to be $10. That allows you to take that test as many times as needed. And then you will go online and find a testing location for that boating exam. It's going to be a proctored exam, and normally you can find it at a public library near you. So you can knock that out. They have a study guide online. You can study that. I would recommend maybe looking it over for 3 or 4 days and really study the material. And then, on that 5th day, you could just go take your test and knock it out. And then you're good for the rest of your life. You never have to take it again. It's just like the driver's test. So it is also recognized in almost every other state in the U.S., so it's reciprocal, very much like our handgun carry permit law. All the other southeastern states at least recognize that carry law and the boating safety law. So if you haven't got that already, go ahead and knock it out because it is required. If you are found without it, your vessel and everything will be told to go back to land, and your voyage will be terminated until you get that. So make sure to go ahead and get that. If you were born before January 1st of 1989, it's not required by law that you have it. Your driver's license will suffice. You're kind of grandfathered in and exempt from that. But it will give you a pretty good break as far as boat insurance goes if you have boat insurance. It's not required by law to have boat insurance, but if you want to go ahead and get that boating education requirement and get your boating license, you will see a decrease in the overall monthly premium of your boating insurance. So just contact whoever you have insurance with and tell them you got that certification, maybe upload it, and they'll give you a little break there. So when we stop you on the waterways, normally we're looking for your safety equipment. We will do a vessel inspection and a safety check. So that checklist is going to be comprised of a few different things. First and foremost, we're looking for life jackets, or PFDs. So we want to make sure everybody on board has a life jacket that is readily accessible and that fits them. So if you have children or infants on board, you're going to want to make sure that you have an adequate number of child and infant life jackets on board as well, and make sure that they're readily accessible in case of emergency situation. Every one of them, in order to count towards your overall total of life jackets, they have to be U.S. Coast Guard approved. So if you're doing any type of water sports, whether it be surfing, wakeboarding, skiing, you can have what they consider a competition vest. It has some sort of buoyancy. You move just very little and it will keep you afloat. But they're not meant to keep you afloat if you're knocked unconscious. So while you're skiing, surfing, wakeboarding, and things like that, it's perfectly fine that you use those, but they don't count towards your overall total. So just be mindful of that. Make sure that you have the adequate number, that you have a personnel on board your vessel. The next thing is I want to talk about paddlecraft regarding these PFDs. So canoes, kayaks, and paddleboards, they are all required to have a life jacket on board, and that's specific to the number of people that you have. So, of course, your kayaks and your paddleboards mostly are going to be single. You'll have some double kayaks and stuff like that, but canoes, if you have 2 or 3 people on board, you're going to want to have at least 2 or 3 life jackets. All have to be U.S. Coast Guard approved. You don't have to wear them, but they have to be present on there. So just be mindful of that. We've seen a tremendous spike in all the paddlecraft we see out on our waterways, and they're not having life jackets. And so it's just very, very important that you have there in just case you flip over, you get swamped, capsized, something like that, that you have that flotation. The next thing, if your vessel is 16 feet in length or greater, you're going to want a type 4 throw cushion. What that is, it's usually a square throw cushion. A lot of people just sit on it. It has 2 handles on the sides, and what you're going to do with that, in an emergency situation, somebody is showing signs of distress, and maybe they're struggling to stay afloat in the water, you're going to throw that out to them, and it's going to be a sufficient amount of buoyancy until you can get a life jacket to them. So that is required, vessels 16 feet or greater, and you just have to have one. The next thing is a fire extinguisher. If you have an encapsulated gas tank, then you have to have a fire extinguisher. So periodically check those throughout the year. Every 6 months or something like that will be sufficient. Most of them have gauges, so if they're in the green, you know they're good to go. If they have the push tab, make sure that it's usually yellow or a red tab. Make sure that that tab is inserted and push down on that tab. If it stays depressed, then you know it's bad. If it pops right back up, it's good to go and you don't have to replace it. Also, a lot of boats nowadays are coming equipped with halon systems. So that halon system will be sufficient enough to act as a fire extinguisher. You don't need another fire extinguisher on board if you have that halon equipped. The next thing is sound signaling devices. So an air horn or a whistle is really what we recommend. A whistle is perfect just because you know that gas is never going to corrupt or anything like that in the tank, or there's never going to be a leak, and it's very, very cost effective. So just grab you a whistle, but air horns are very good too. They make a lot of noise. You really won't run into that kind of problem here in the Middle Tennessee area. There are a few rural areas, but for the most part, you're going to have at least a steady amount of boat traffic coming by you throughout the day, or you might be close to a residence in case of emergency situation. You won't need that sound signaling device, but just know that it's required and you need to have it on there. And then of course, if you're going to be out after dark, it's very, very important that you have working navigation lights. Check that before you go out and before it gets dark. Make sure everything's working properly. If it's not, make sure you get back before legal sunset. These lights are required at legal sunset. So if you have a very clear day, you're going to notice that maybe you can see 2 or 3 miles downstream, and you know it's still very light outside, and you can clearly see many different things. But legal sunset navigation lights are required by law. So you can download an app on your iPhone or Android, and then you can also look in our hunting guide or our fishing guide. We have sunrise and sunset tables in the back. All those are outlined, and you can make sure that you're abiding by that rule. So what I mean by navigation lights is just your red and green bow lights, and then your all-around white light, which is commonly referred to as a stern light or an anchor light. Now, the reason why it's called an anchor light is that's the one light that you have to have on at all times while you're out there at night. It can never be turned off at night. You can turn off your red and greens when you are anchored or moored, which means you're tied off to something. Otherwise, if you are in motion or underway, those red and greens and the all-around white light have to be on. No other light should be on. That includes your docking lights, any type of LED light bars. We've seen these LED light strips on the sides of pontoons and bass boats, or bait attractor lights. They cannot be on while you are underway. Only while you are stationary can you have those on. So red and green, white lights only. The reason for that is those 3 lights that I mentioned are how other vessels can see the orientation of your boat, and they know how to react to whenever you're running. So if I see your white and red light, I know that means that you are the stand-on vessel and I'm the giveaway vessel. That acts just like a traffic light on the road. So if I see your red light, I know that I need to stop. If I see your white light and your green light, I know to maintain my course and go ahead. Green means go. So I'm the stand-on vessel, and that other vessel that is displaying those lights is the giveaway vessel. So if you're not familiar with that, look in our guide. We have a whole study guide regarding boating education and how all the channel markers are and what those mean, all kinds of different buoys. If they have certain symbols on them, it tells you exactly what that means. And then, of course, your navigation lights and basically the rules of the road. So please study up on that before you hit our waterways, because we don't have traffic lines or anything. And it's very important that you stay close to these channels in some of our waterways, because sometimes they're very narrow, and you get outside that channel, you could end up in a very dangerous and hazardous situation, because there's a lot of times just floating debris. You'll get out on these shallow shoals or mud flats, and sometimes they'll go from 40 foot to 2 foot in a hurry. You tear up a prop and potentially throw somebody out. So make sure that you pay attention to that. The final thing that we want to stress so much is drinking on our waterways. It's not illegal to drink while boating, but make sure that you have a sober designated driver before you even go out. You've already established who that's going to be for the day, and make sure that they are very familiar with that boat and how to operate it, and they are comfortable with it. And that means even after dark, that they know how to trailer it or put it back into a slip and operate it, and they're familiar with that waterway and navigational buoys and the channels and stuff like that. It's very, very important that that designated driver know that. That way you can get yourself, your family, your friends back home safe, and no property damage to your boat at all. So establish a designated driver. This includes prescription drugs and any type of alcohol. Make sure that you're not overdoing it, because people really underestimate the environmental factors that play a key role in upping your blood alcohol out there. So you've got the waves that are constantly rocking you. You have an extreme amount of heat with the sun beating down on you. And then you've also got loud noises such as boat engine noise or loud music. So all of these factors play a crucial role in basically your blood alcohol content and the direct effects correlated to establishing your impairment. So we just stress, if you're gonna drink, do it responsibly. Don't drive. Get that designated driver. If you don't have a designated driver, call somebody. There's tow services out there that they can act like an Uber, and then once you get to a boat ramp or anything like that, you can actually call an Uber or a Lyft. So we have been cracking down on boating under the influence. There are stricter laws going into effect July 1 of this year. Now it is the exact same as a DUI. So BUI and DUI are the exact same coming July 1. There's stiffer penalties, so don't get caught boating under the influence. We want everybody to get out there and have a good time, but do it responsibly, and get you, your family, and your friends home safe. So hope everybody has an opportunity to get out there, enjoy the lake. Please be safe, be responsible, and we'll see you next time.